me again, here to talk to you today about my favourite obsession, Rocky Horror, dig there, the Game Boy and all of its different forms. So today we're going to have a look at the original Game Boy and the Game Boy Color. So today we're going to have a little look at Game Boys, and if you follow my Twitter feed you will know that Game Boys are my thing. They're my comfort blanket, they're my go-to gadget. That sounds dodgy. So here is not the original brick, because the original Game Boy, as I'm sure you know, was grey. Well, off-white. I think Nintendo called it. And they came on the scene about 1989, following on from the Game & Watch of the early 80s, which I'm afraid I'm so young that I missed. So this hit April 1989 in Japan and July of 89 in the States. We didn't get it in the UK until September 1990, which is kind of a bit of the thing with Nintendo and the Europe continent. We always get things late. I'm not bitter. So, I don't have an original one to show you. I don't know where it is. It got lost on a house move somewhere, which is a shame, because I'd had it for a very long time. The cartridges were marketed as something called a game pack. And you would get in the box your Game Boy and your little Tetris game pack, and all you would need is 4 AA's and away you went. So, in Japan, in 14 days, 300,000 Game Boys were sold. 14 days, 2 weeks. That's a lot of Game Boys. However, in one day in the States, they shifted 40,000 of them, which is absolutely incredible. So it wasn't the first portable on the market. You had the Microvision in '79, but the parts kept disintegrating, and yeah, this was the first reliable, affordable way to take your gaming out with you on the go. So it's 148 by 90 by 32 millimeters. There it is. It's got a 66 mil, I'm just having a look at my notes because I can't remember all these numbers. 66 mil screen. Oh, it's got, let's have a look. Speaker for mono sound, but if you, where's it gone, plug in your headphones, you get stereo sound. One in each ear. Or mono sound out of the one single mono speaker. Then you have, at the back here, space for 4 AA's. 4 AA's, pricey, but they last a long time. I can't remember exactly how long. It's in my notes somewhere. So we'll put the battery cover back on. You have got at the top here the game pack slot switch to turn on and off. I've got no batteries in there at the moment. Down this side we've got a 6 volt what's it called thing. You've got screen contrast there. This obviously didn't have any lighting to it. If you were playing in the evening you needed quite a strong light. Daylight to bulb light you might have needed to faff around with the contrast, I'm not too sure about that. Okay, at the bottom you've got the headphone slot, and then this side we've got a connector port and the volume. The higher the volume, the quicker the batteries run down. Don't forget that. Now the little port thing is for a link cable, because before the days of the internet, children, you had to be in the same room for multiplayer. Shocking. And you would pop your little link cable in there, your friend would have a link cable port and as well, and your link cable will go from one to the other, and you could do all sorts of cool things, including exchanging Pokemon. But I won't talk about Pokemon today. On the front here we've got a battery indicator, the screen, you've got your A's and B's, your D-pad, and then you have a start and a select button. Okay. So if you're feeling adventurous with your Game Boy, you can put some accessories with it, like your link cable, which I've already talked about, or you can go a bit more mid-range. Not an official accessory, I should point out. You have this, the magnifier, and inside it's got a couple of light bulbs, because this wasn't lit and it was a nightmare if you were like me and you wanted to sneakily improve your Tetris playing skills under the duvet at night without your parents knowing. Sorry, mum and dad. So you've got a switch there to turn the lights on and off, and a battery compartment at the back, an electronics boutique special. I don't know if there's batteries in there. Hope not, it's been in storage. Yes, there is. Let's keep that shut. They have leaked. Oh dear, we'll have to repair that. So this would go on. Why would it go on? This would go on. It will go on. Oh! I don't think it should have made that noise. I can't remember how to put the damn thing on. It's official, I'm old. Huh? I know that there's a bit missing. Anyway, so it would go on like that, and then the magnifier would sit over the screen, make everything a little bit easier to see, and the lights would shed the most minimal of light possible onto your Game Boy. They were okay. I mean, you could get some really, really stupid looking ones that had like, I've got battery acid leaking on me, that had fold out speakers and more lights on there and on this and that and the other. I don't have one of those. So I've got this to show you as well. This is a Game Boy camera. The original way to take a selfie. And basically this would just go in the cartridge slot there. All the software was inside, because this would be your game part, it would be your game pack, and you've got your camera up there, and then you could take all sorts of beautiful pictures of yourself, and then use the external connector to connect up to, for example, the Game Boy printer, sold separately. I do have one that unfortunately had batteries left in it as well, so that also requires cleanup. I'm not going to show you that because that really has exploded. And it had heat sensitive paper. You'd be able to send your picture to the printout, and yeah, your very own selfie, quite ahead of its time really, to be able to take a photo on a handheld games console and be able to print it as well. We kind of take all the digital photography for granted these days, I think, but yeah, quite a funky little gadget. So let's see if we can get it working, see if we can take a photo. So we're turning on. We're turning on. We are turning on. Let's take that out for a minute. It's sometimes with these, if ever you get a cartridge and it's not doing much, maybe because it hasn't been used for a while or your Game Boy hasn't been used, do that a few times, sometimes that helps. Oh, contrast. Hey, there we go. Let's turn it up. Mario is busting some moves. Okay. So, you've got, let's just play with the contrast a little bit so it's easier for you to see. Got a screen there. Let's press shoot. I've just realised it's not a touch screen. Oh. Oh my. Okay, let's take a photo. So you basically just aim it like a camera, but remember it's not a touch screen. Hey, okay, we'll save that one. Oh my god. So that's the way you take a selfie in the 90s, kids. Okay, so that's basically how that works. You can see it's a very, very basic setup, but kind of cute, very ahead of its time. So moving on from this one, we have Game Boy Color. And if I take the cartridge out of this, because it's so bigger than a normal one, you look at those side by side, the difference. This one is much, much smaller. It's much lighter, and it has quite a few perks. Firstly, colour, amazing, wonderful. Nintendo were a bit behind in terms of using colour. Colour handhelds had been launched, so they were a bit behind, but you have the ability to only have 2 AA's. Cheaper to run. The setup is pretty much identical in terms of the actual physical components, except you've got the on switch on the side because you've got an infrared up there, and you don't have the power bit at the side. You have that on the bottom next to the headphones there, and we've got volume and the little link cable port there. No contrast adjustment because, to be honest, the screens had evolved, the tech had evolved, you just don't need them. So what I'm going to do as a bit of a demonstration, I'm going to show you what a colour game looks like in the Game Boy, and then I'm going to show you what an original game looks like in both of them, so that you can see the very subtle differences between the processing of the colours that were used in the colour Game Boy as opposed to the original Game Boy, because there are very subtle differences. So give me a minute to find enough batteries to do this, and I'll be right back. Okay, so let me show you a colour game first, and then I'll be able to compare 2 games that are identical side by side. So this is an original game pack. This is Mario and Yoshi, however you pronounce it, I don't really know. And then this is a colour game pack. You can see it's not grey in colour. These usually were see-through or had a colour to them to make them different from these ones, because you can't play these ones in the original. They've got a slightly different shape. If you see on the colour cartridge, She's got some junk in her trunk, and that's basically to stop you using it in an old style Game Boy because it just won't work. Side by side. The dimensions are still pretty much the same, it's just got that hump on it. And at the back, I quite like these see-through cartridges because you can see all the bits inside. Wow. So, let's get this in, let's get it loaded, and I will show you what it looks like. Ba-dum! Let's see, can you see that? Yeah, English is good. This is the trouble. Pika pika! So you can see that's a really lovely colour display. Okay, let's turn that off before I lose subscribers. So what I will now do is show you the original games in both. I'm going to put Mario and Yoshi, I don't know, put it in both of them so you can see the direct comparison, and I'm going to move the camera as well so that you can actually see that and not me dancing with it in the screen. Okay. So, hello. Here are the two Game Boys. I'm going to turn them on. I think the load time is going to be slightly different, so you might have to put up with some strange music effects, but I'll turn one of the volumes down when that happens. So let's turn these on. There we go. As you can see, the colour loads up so much more quickly. Let's turn the volume down on that. So there they are side by side. And if I zoom in, zoom, move that one like that, you can see standard 50 Shades of Grey. And then you've got this one, trying to get the reflection off, where you can see Yoshi is green. You've got some red on there as well, despite it not actually, I've got to turn that down, that's melting my brain. Yeah, sorry. You can see that although it wasn't designed to be in colour, you've got some good colour matching going on there, which is all about how they mapped the various shades of grey into various shades of colour. So there you go, you can see the direct comparison there. Very cool. Obviously you can see that these colours here aren't as bright, vivid, varied as the colours would have been in a proper Game Boy Color game, which is one of these. Original cartridge, 9 years, 789 different titles, 789 different games. That is a huge library of games. I would need to check, but I don't think that was rivaled by any other handheld. I would need to check that. But basically I think that is a lot to do with Nintendo's way of franchising products. So you've got Kirby, you've got Mario, you've got Pokemon, you've got Zelda as well. So all of those things lent themselves to when's the next Pokemon coming out, when's the next Mario coming out, when's the next Zelda coming out, and people would want that, so it gave them a basis to produce more and more and more games based on one character, one title, one franchise. And even now, we are waiting for Pokemon Sun and Moon in Pokemon's 20th year, 20 years of building video games around a franchise. Zelda as well. I can't remember exactly how old Zelda is, 25? 25? Yeah, that feels about right. Might be older. Again, still going. Mario has been around since what feels like the Stone Age. Still going. So that Nintendo were very, very clever in the way that they were able to market games. So thanks for watching today. I hope you found that moderately interesting, if not hilarious, when I tried to use it as a touch screen rather than use the buttons. I forget what year I'm living in. Thank you for watching. Next time I'll show you some of the other Game Boy models that I have got in my collection. The collection is growing. I love Game Boys, can't help myself. I don't particularly know why. Probably because I can take them anywhere I go. It's a little thing I can lose myself and hide myself with, and it's good fun. I can carry my favourite games around in my pocket rather than just having them at home. So if you enjoy the video, please subscribe. I've had some subscribers already. I'm really impressed that you're putting up with all my wittering. Extensive wittering. And yeah, stay tuned, because there will be more videos to come. Thanks very much for watching. I'll catch you later. I can't believe I tried to touch the screen.